I sing like the birds, I grow like the trees, I choose to live in love, I am joy, I am me.
Hello, and welcome to the True Brit podcast. That was a little taste of one of our ayahuasca ceremonies, me singing one of Sam Garrett's beautiful songs. My name is Brittany, and I'm here today in the Amazon jungle to share some stories and some lessons from my job as an ayahuasca facilitator. The podcast you're about to hear, I recorded a couple months ago before I decided on the name for this podcast. So I talk about some insights from ceremony and how I've been learning to deal with anger, which is an emotion I've been getting a little bit more comfortable with recently. So my intention for this episode is I hope this brings you some joy, some entertainment, or even some new perceptions or perspectives. But mostly, I hope it reminds you that you are not alone. We are all together in this crazy human experience. And sometimes we forget that, but we are all here together. So don't forget to enjoy the ride and not take it all so seriously. Just keep it light. Keep it fun. Think of Earth as like a big, fun playground. And like I said, you are not alone. So without further ado, let's jump in. And I'll start with me sharing some lessons from Mother Ayahuasca. I hope you are having a gorgeous day. So anyway, I'm in an ayahuasca ceremony. I had drank some ayahuasca, and I got this strong understanding, which I felt before. It's not a new feeling where I just feel like I understand at a very deep level, not just in my head, but I feel that everything is love. Like it all boils down to love. And the thought that popped into my mind was, it's all love. And I just kind of wanted to yell out, like, it's all love, people. Everything, even the darkness, everything. It's all love. And I just felt it in every cell of my body. And it wasn't like a new feeling, like I said. It was more of a remembering. Like, oh, I know this. I've known this before. I've always known this, but somehow it gets kind of lost. So I'm feeling it's all love. And then I'm like, oh, this should be my podcast title. The title of my podcast, because I've been thinking about starting a podcast for a while now. Haven't been able to come up with the name. And I was like, oh, it's all love. That's perfect. And then a couple hours later, as I was kind of coming down from the ayahuasca, I was like, that's a stupid name, because it just sounds so hippie, new age. And okay, maybe I am hippie, new age a little bit, but I don't believe in it's all love and light and spiritual bypassing and all that stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is all love. And maybe we all could use a little reminder of that. So maybe this podcast will be called It's All Love, or It's All About Love. Who knows? But we'll see. So enough about the podcast title, but it was funny because after that night where I was feeling just so filled with love and connected to the present moment and my breathing and the ayahuasca medicine and the curandero Icaros, or their songs that they sing, and just everyone in the room, I was feeling so good, so giggly, so high on life. Fast forward 2 nights later, I'm PMSing, I'm not an ayahuasca, and I just start feeling extremely irritated and annoyed by everything going on around me. Especially this one woman next to me in ceremony. I'm not going to name names because it wasn't her fault anyway, but she literally kept me up all night just with her noises and like crinkling of the water bottle and getting up and going to the bathroom all night long, and I don't know, weird noises like loud scratches and picking her nails and yada yada yada. So I found myself already really grumpy. I don't get grumpy very often, but I usually do around my period, and I usually, like, that's when it comes out and it's full force, and I get irritable about the littlest things. And the other time I get grumpy is when I can't get sleep. Like, I need sleep, but I've been woken up too early, or, there's something that disturbs my sleep or wakes me up. That's a good way to get me pretty grumpy. So I woke up that next morning after not getting much sleep at all, and I was like, okay, this is fine. I'm just feeling pissed off, feeling irritable, feeling grumpy. It's fine, because one big thing we teach here at Dreamglade, one big thing I've learned from Stace and the medicine and just healing in general, is that we just need to feel our feelings. Like if you wake up and you feel grumpy or you feel really sad, we've been trained to think that that's a bad thing or that's a problem. We've been trained to judge ourselves and say, like, oh shit, I shouldn't be feeling this way. Why am I feeling so sad? I should be happy. There's something wrong with me. Why am I feeling angry? There's something wrong with me. So our training here is, instead of judging the feeling as good or bad, we just drop the judgment. So stop judging the feeling as something bad and stop judging ourselves for feeling it. And we just allow ourselves to feel it. And so I'm like, okay, I'm feeling angry. That's fine. I don't have to take it out on anybody. I'm just feeling it. So I walked to the big house, which is where breakfast is served. And I go to pick up my bowl of fruit. And this will require a little bit of explaining for those of you not familiar with ayahuasca and dietas and stuff. So a little bit of background story. So of course we serve very healthy food at our ayahuasca center, not processed, just whole foods diet. But there is an option if you'd like to do a plant dieta, which is essentially dieting with a plant. So you can be working with that plant in addition to ayahuasca. It's like an additional plant healer, plant ally, plant friend, if you will. And so if you choose to do the plant dieta, it's called a dieta for a reason. You have to diet. You have to restrict your food intake. So there's even more restrictions than with the ayahuasca diet. We don't have a super strict ayahuasca diet here at Dreamglade, but the dieta is a little bit more strict. So for example, in the fruit bowl, when I'm not on dieta, because I've chosen not to be on a plant dieta, you get lots of delicious fruits like mangoes, bananas, clementines or mandarins, etc. And when you're not on dieta, you don't get any of those fruits, but you still get, pretty delicious fruits: watermelons, papayas, apples, and pears. Oh, you also get papaya or pineapple when you're not on dieta. So anyway, I go to get my fruit bowl. I'm the last one. My fruit bowl's the last one on the counter, and I look into it. And I'm like, this is a dieta bowl. This is only the dieta fruits. None of the non-dieta fruits are in here. And I immediately realized that someone has knowingly taken my fruit bowl, because this is the end of the week. All the guests have been here for a while. The ones who are on diet know what types of fruits they're supposed to have. Someone knowingly took my fruit bowl. And it's like hilarious even talking about it, because I was so angry about it. But I was just so livid. I was like, the audacity of somebody to take my fruit bowl. And I kind of forgot about it until another guest later that day told me they saw a man taking my fruit bowl. Like, they saw who it was. And like, that person told the woman not to tell anyone. But she's like, I had to tell you because it made me so angry. And just finding out that it was him, it made my blood boil. I was like, oh, the nerve. Like, who does that? Because not only are you taking fruit that you're not supposed to be eating on the dieta, and part of the dieta is about discipline and like proving your commitment to working with this plant, but you're also taking fruit away from someone else. And like, I'm not gonna lie, the fact that it was a man and I'm on my period, I was already feeling kind of angry at men in general. And I want to pause here and be like, this is not an angry rant about men. I love men. They're awesome. They're special. But when I'm on my period or right before it, a lot of months I just get this anger, or as my friend calls it, sacred rage towards a lot of men, because for a lot of reasons. But one is like, they can't possibly understand this rage that I'm feeling. It feels like this rage against thousands of years of oppression, thousands of years of patriarchy that have just been crushing down and not allowing women to speak their rage or express their rage or even feel any sort of rage. It's just been women being pushed down and silenced and not allowed to speak, not allowed to have emotions, just being submissive. And so I feel that every month. And a little side note here, in case you have not read Eckhart Tolle. If you haven't read Eckhart Tolle, you should go read The Power of Now and also A New Earth, because The Power of Now, and I'm not saying this casually, it changed my life. It's such a good book. But in those books, he talks about what's called the pain body. So it's I kind of also think about it like the energies of repressed emotions. If you don't feel an emotion the first time around, if instead of feeling something, like let's say you got angry about a fruit bowl, and instead of allowing yourself to feel that feeling, you push it down. You say, no, I don't want to feel this. When you're quote unquote pushing it down, you're literally putting it somewhere in your body. It's physically being held in your body until you allow yourself to feel it. And so the pain body is basically that, where it's an energetic part of us, and we all have this, except for probably Eckhart Tolle. He apparently doesn't have a pain body anymore after his enlightening. Must be nice. But most of us humans have the pain body, which, if we're going about our day, we're present, we're enjoying our life, and then all of a sudden someone triggers us. And for me, it's usually my family, because that's just how it is. Our family can be our biggest triggers, right? So let's say you're going through your day and your mom just says something that triggers you, and all of a sudden there's no time, it feels like, between when you're you and then when you're this other thing, when your anger or your sadness or your disgust just takes over your body, and it feels like you are possessed. Like it literally feels like this emotion or whatever this is has possessed your body and is speaking through you. And after the event is over, let's say after you've screamed at her or got into a verbal or physical altercation, some time passes and you might feel like, who was that? Like, that didn't feel like me. That wasn't me. It's because it wasn't really you. It wasn't the real you. It was, as Eckhart Tolle says, your pain body speaking. And one thing I find really interesting, the reason I'm bringing this up is because Eckhart Tolle talks about it. I think it's in A New Earth, where he says PMS, premenstrual symptom for women, a lot of that anger that we feel and those irritability is our collective female pain body, which just resonated with me so much, because that's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like necessarily just my individualized anger at anyone in particular. It just feels like a collective or deep-rooted anger, especially towards men or even towards other women. But it's just this rage that pops up once a month. And again, it feels like I'm feeling it for a lot of other women, or I'm feeling it for a lot of my past lives or something like that. Who knows? But it feels deep and it feels important. And like I said before, it's sacred. And it's the more I can kind of feel it and lean into it. And of course, this is important. You can feel an emotion without expressing it. So I could sit there and feel the anger, but I wasn't taking it out on anyone else. I wasn't like yelling at guests. That would be very unprofessional and just like annoying and childish. But it's like I could feel the anger and just check in, like take stock. Where is this in my body? And I just noticed my chest was really feeling it. Like my whole chest felt tight. My heart was beating fast. It kind of felt like anxiety, but not quite. It was more like heated, and it felt very powerful. And I think anger is a very, very powerful emotion. And I was talking to my friend Paige about this. It can be kind of fun to feel anger. I think some people can get addicted to certain emotions, but I think sometimes these are fun to feel and they're good to feel. It's healthy to feel them. Like we should feel angry sometimes. All of our emotions have a purpose. I don't think any emotion is a bad emotion. We're feeling them for a reason. So with anger, for example, we might be feeling anger because it's signaling to us that someone has crossed a boundary. So it's a big signal like, hey, look at that. Someone just crossed a boundary. No bueno. And sadness, for example, another very useful emotion, because it makes us want to move, makes us want to change in life, makes necessary changes. If we were never sad, we would never grow. We would never learn. So every emotion has its place. Of course, fear. It's like fear can help us get out of some sticky situations that might be dangerous or might put us in danger. But then, of course, all of these can get a little out of balance. And a good example of this was like when I was feeling just seething anger about a fruit bowl. And I came up to my room and left a voice memo for my friend Paige, and was just kind of like going back and forth between anger and laughing about how ridiculous it was, about how angry I was about this. And I've actually had an ayahuasca ceremony about anger, about that specific thing, where I was really angry during a ceremony. And if any of you have done plant medicines or ayahuasca, you kind of know what I'm about to talk about. But it's basically like, it's not just you feeling an emotion on a normal day-to-day human level. when ayahuasca can bring up an emotion, it feels like you can't escape it. It's your whole body feeling it. It's your whole being. You are immersed in this feeling. It's an overwhelming, all-encompassing thing. So this anger is coming up, and what I was getting angry about was something so trivial. And I eventually started laughing about how angry I was over this trivial thing that someone else said to me. So I would go back and forth during the ceremony between feeling the anger and just laughing about it. And one thing I realized was I actually wanted to hold on to that anger. There was a part of me that didn't want to let it go. And that part of me, I think, wants justice, right? It's like, it's scared that if I just let go of the anger and move into laughter, like, no, the score needs to be settled. Like, this person needs to know what they did. There needs to be justice. And so I would go back, like flip back and forth and really feel both energies in my body. It was like a very, very fine line between the intense rage and the hilarious laughter. And I honestly, like, thinking about it with a logical brain, you'd be like, well, of course the laughter feels better. But the anger felt pretty damn good too in that moment. And I think it's because, like I said before, a lot of us, not just women, but a lot of us have felt very repressed or suppressed in our emotions, that we weren't allowed to feel angry. And so just being allowed, just giving myself permission to feel angry feels good. It just feels human. It's like, yes, this is necessary. So yeah, I think that also was a fun thing to teach me, that sometimes if I'm feeling really angry, all it takes is a very slight nudge to get me from hysterical anger to hysterical laughter. And that was a beautiful thing. So anyways, so back to feeling our emotions. Paul, another lovely man who works here at Dreamblade, he likes to say, he has a couple phrases that I really, really like, and they kind of just play as mantras in my head oftentimes when I get overly in my head or overly emotional. One of them is to say to yourself, these are just thoughts I am thinking. These are just sensations I am feeling. I am not these thoughts. I am not these sensations. And kind of just repeating that to yourself if you're ever feeling kind of lost in your head or lost in feelings or lost in physical sensations. It's just a nice reminder. I am not these things. This is not my identity. I am the one observing myself think or feel these things, but I'm not these things. So that's a really helpful thing. And then to also remember, like I said before, I can feel an emotion without expressing it. So I can feel intense anger for, let's say, the girl sitting next to me on her mat. Or I can feel intense anger at the man who ate my delicious fruit. But I don't have to take it out on him. Like, justice does not need to be served there. But for my own well-being, like I said before, if we push down our emotions, it can actually make us physically sick. And a lot of our physical sicknesses or autoimmune diseases or a lot of physical illnesses have actually been created by repressed emotions. But that's a whole nother topic. So we can feel our emotions without acting on it. But I do think with anger sometimes it needs to be expressed, and it needs to be expressed in a healthy way. And I have a couple favorite ways. I'd love to hear about your guys' favorite ways, but my mom, when I was a kid, used to teach me about screaming into a pillow, which I love. I haven't done that in a while, and to be honest, I should probably go out into the jungle one day soon and just scream, because I think that's a great release. But also something I do all the time here, like almost every single day, is I dance. And I dance in my room, or I go out for a walk and I dance where I know most likely nobody's going to see me. And I just go for it. And I turn on whatever music I need in that moment. Sometimes it's like really heavy EDM music, or sometimes it's like nice hippie medicine music. So it just depends on the mood, but I'll turn on a playlist, put on my headphones, and just fucking dance. And that is such a helpful thing, at least for me, to really get out some of that energy, some of that anger. Of course, like I said, screaming or talking to somebody. Like when I talked to my friend Paige and she kind of commiserated about what I was feeling, what I was going through, made me feel a little bit more normal, a little bit more human. Like, it's okay. This is, we all feel this from time to time. That was super helpful, just to talk with someone and laugh about it. But also, look at our rage as something sacred and beautiful and okay to be feeling. Let's see, another way that I deal with rage is singing. So I deal with, this is kind of how I deal with any emotion really, whether it's sadness or rage or whatever, but singing and dancing have been beyond helpful. Like, I can't even explain how helpful those practices have been. I feel like for a lot of my 20s, I reserved dancing for like music festivals or EDM concerts or whatever, or even bars and clubs sometimes, but I didn't just dance in my room or on a walk, which I do all the time now, and I'm going to do it for the rest of my life because it's seriously so great. I don't know why I ever stopped, and I just love it. And same with singing. I don't know when I stopped singing, but I know I started again during this year. I've kind of found my voice, and singing is magical, man. I mean, not just because it's fun, but there's also, like, I've done a bunch of research on this and I don't remember any of the technicalities, but it's basically like by us singing, it makes these specific vibrations that kind of trigger different points on your mouth, like the roof of your mouth and different energy centers in your mouth and your throat. And it can really help kind of shake up the energy or clear it out or center you or ground you or calm you or any of those things. So it can really help reset your nervous system and just make you feel better. And it's just so freeing too. It's like I no longer give a fuck about if I'm singing really well or really horribly or if anybody can hear me. It's like if I need to sing, I just sing. And in fact, Saul, one of the guys who works here, he caught me dancing and singing once when I was on the path, and it was pretty comical. Like, I was literally just like, okay, not literally twerking in the middle of the road, but I was like booty popping, bouncing around, like going for it in the middle of the jungle and singing. And Saul just comes, because I thought there was absolutely no way that anyone would see me. I was like, none of the guests are coming out, none of the neighbors are around. I thought I was completely in the clear, just fully going for it. And then Saul in his red motorbike just whips around the corner, catches me like mid booty pop. And I was like, okay. I just kind of awkwardly smiled at him and like slowly kept going because I didn't know what to do. I was like, it'd be very awkward if I just suddenly stopped, but it's also going to be awkward if I keep going at the same level of intensity. So it's a funny moment, but I feel like, I mean, it made him laugh and smile to see and hear that and witness that ridiculousness. And I feel like it kind of spread some joy. So, hey, if it created a ripple effect of laughter and fun, maybe it even inspired him to do a little booty popping, I don't know. But it felt good. So I encourage you, if you haven't tried that, go for it. Even just dancing in a room, singing in the shower, whatever feels good for you. That is my friendly, unsolicited advice for the day. Oh, and another way that I kind of expressed my anger or found that I helped was going through some kind of like primal yoga poses, like cat cow, just writhing around in that way, and also lion's breath. So if you don't know what that is, you just inhale through your nose, and when you exhale out your mouth, you stick your tongue out, and you can even look up with both eyes up at your third eye, the point in between your eyebrows. And I like to do it with my hands interlaced above my head, and it just feels so good to do a few of those breaths, like like really letting something out the mouth, just almost like a crazy primal animal, just mama bear, like ready to protect her cubs or something, or just growling at the injustice that's in the world. It felt good, man. That lion's breath really felt good. So again, another thing I recommend. And one thing Stace recommends, again, Stace is the owner of the ayahuasca center here at Dreamglade. One thing he recommends to guests a lot is if they have trouble expressing their anger, like if they've been taught, like a lot of us, that anger is not okay, it can be hard to kind of get that anger to come up for you to feel it because you're so out of practice. It just feels weird, or it's just so stuffed in there. It doesn't want to come out. So one practice he suggests is to go for a walk, find a stick in the jungle, and just beat the shit out of the ground or like a dead tree or something. Of course, nothing living harmed in this scenario, but just basically channeling your rage and giving it back to Mother Earth. And it's kind of like screaming into a pillow, right? But a little bit more physical. I think there's even some places in the States where people can go and break shit. I think I've seen that, which sounds really fun. I would love to try that. But since we're in the jungle and don't have one of those centers available, Our version is just taking a stick and beating the shit out of the ground or something. So, like I said, I'd love for you guys to reach out to me if you have other ways of working through your anger or emotions, but these have been my go-tos. So I think I've gone on long enough for my first podcast. Who knows if I'll actually publish this one or not, but it's been fun talking through these things, and I must admit I do get a little embarrassed, a little anxious when I start recording myself. It feels a little bit weird, but hopefully I will get a little bit more used to it. I'll find a flow. I'll find more fun in this. But whoever's listening, thank you for listening all the way to the end. I love you so much. I'm sending you all of my love, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.